Evening folks, how are we? You're very welcome to EJ's page here. I'm going to take it over for the next hour and a bit, and I'm looking forward to speaking to Mr. Kevin Kilbane. Hopefully you'll all stay tuned for that, and I'm really looking forward to it, Mark. Yeah, all the lads, so they've given me the honour of hosting their page tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've been doing these video chats for the last couple of weeks, obviously because of the situation with us all in lockdown, so came up with a little idea and it's been going really well. Lots of footballer chats, so the boys got on to me. Obviously I know Mark very well, Tommy, Eamon as well, the boss of the whole show, so the boys got on to me and we said we put one together. So yeah, I'm just waiting for Kevin to join now. All he needs to do is send a request and away we go, and we'll have a bit of fun, a bit of crack. If you have any questions, send them in to him as well. We're doing this in conjunction with Herbie Frog as well, so we're really looking forward to it, to be honest with you. It's been going really well. I'm just waiting for me, struggling obviously with the technology. I see Brianne checked in there, so she might be able to help him. All he needs to do is send a request and away we go. So here he is now. Send a request, Kev. It's no good saying I'm here. Just send a request, a little tab to join the video, EJ's video, and then we'll be ready to rock. So we'll give him a couple of minutes. Brianne, will you sort him out and tell him what's going on? It's no good you texting me saying I'm here. You should have a little tab, send a request to be in the video, Kev. It should be there on the page. Can't be that difficult. These footballers, you know, struggling with the old technology. Brianne is on it, chat. Brianne, can you show him? Here he goes. Now, here we go. Just give him a minute to connect up, and we'll be ready to rock. Mabes, how are you? We'll be chatting to you on Wednesday. Thanks, Brianne. There he is. What do you like?
I've never done this before. Come on. I'm a Skype caller, you know.
Oh yeah, well see, you're a bit older than me, so the old Skype calls, yeah. This is how the young kids do it now, Kev. Video.
Oh, I tell you, honest to God, it's all about the live videos, isn't it? That's the way it is.
Exactly. So it's been going well. I was just saying to people.
Yeah, how have you found it? Been good?
Yeah, it's been great, Kev. Yeah, so obviously.
Who's been your best one so far?
The best one so far. I'm the one asking the questions, not you.
All right, come on. I'm just asking you. Come on.
Andy Reid was brilliant the other night. Andy Reid was absolutely brilliant.
There's
been two or three standouts. Kev, who we know, or Ken, who we know well, Ken Doherty was absolutely brilliant as well.
Yeah.
The week before, Clinton, your good mate, was brilliant on Friday night.
Good stuff.
Derek Pender from Bowes was actually really good as well. Detzer was brilliant. So there's been 4 or 5 good ones. So you've big shoes to fill. So hopefully you'll be able to do that.
No, I'm struggling to fill those shoes, let me tell you.
No, you'll be all right, don't worry. And a big shout out as well. So Herbie Frog are doing this obviously with EJ's Menswear. A good Sligo business, Kev. And you know, you're very fond of people from the West, so we have to support them.
Oh, and West of Ireland then, you know, we have to stick together.
Exactly. So I haven't seen you in a while because obviously you've been off becoming an ice skater. So fill us in on that. It looked like a brilliant experience. So how good was that?
Well, life-changing, isn't it? In every way.
In every sense.
in every way. I wouldn't have seen you in a good while, would I? Probably the last time that we would have spoke properly would have been around the time I was due to start. And so we're going back now to August, September time. And I honestly, I didn't expect to happen what has happened. It's just, as I said, it's totally life-changing. But it's been obviously an incredible 6 or 7 months now, the way that it's gone, and I've loved every minute of it. Certainly doing the show was tiring. It was certainly tiring up to Christmas time and things like that, getting through that. But everything else, of course, meeting Brianne, everything like that. And I mean, as I said, it's just changed. It's changed my life in so many different ways. And I mean, you've known me a long time now, so you know the sort of lad that I am, and everything that's gone on in the last 6 months. I can't explain how good I feel and how good everything has been, but it's just been an incredible 6 or 7 months really, and it's just been, as I said, life-changing in every single way.
Yeah, well, obviously, I do know you well, and you're a great lad, as we all know. Everyone's very fond of you, Kev, so we're all happy that you're happy, which is the most important thing. But before we get to the very special lady, just how hard was the dancing? It looked really difficult because obviously there was a lot of
skating. Alan was skaters, not dancers. Come on now.
There's a difference.
If you say that to Brianna, you tell her that she's a dancer, she would go mad. She's a professional skater. That's what she is. No,
I apologise, Brianna.
No, genuinely, honest to God now, they are the most talented. She is the most talented person I've ever met in my life. And that's the truth, honest to God. They just with it in everything, in skating terms, they are absolutely incredible. And to see the way that they work day to day, and us cowboys, me getting on the ice, honestly, you can well imagine it. Honest to God, it was just, it was surreal doing it. It was surreal how I've actually said yes to do it in the first place. That's when I look back and I think, why on earth did I say yes to doing it? I probably had a conversation with you before I started, and you were one of the guys that was saying to me, "Oh, Kev, you have to do it. You've got to do it." But it was so early now. And honestly, I don't know if you've ice skated yourself, if you've skated. I mean, I'd never skated. I'd never really been on the ice at all, and you get on, and we've all got a bit of confidence. We think, because we've played a bit of ball in our time. Honest to God, I was a total shambles. I fell 3 and 4 times a session for the first month, first 6 weeks.
On the body, like.
Yeah, it was hard. Honestly, God, it was really hard going. And of course, we're working muscles that we would have never worked before as well. Which you start to realize how good they are and the level that they've got to, and how simple they make everything look. That's the thing, you see the dangers that's involved. I mean, that was the thing. Realistically, you see some of the guys and some of the injuries that some of even our guys got. I mean, you've seen, Michael Barrymore broke his wrist. He was out the show before Christmas, but they're like minor injuries to some of the injuries that you see some of the guys getting. You realise how dangerous it actually is, and the dangers that are involved with it. But once I started to be able to skate, and once I started to be able to find my feet, I started to really enjoy it. Certainly after Christmas, up to Christmas was tough going, because I couldn't skate backwards. I couldn't do basics. That was the thing. I couldn't skate backwards. I couldn't get myself going. And once I started to find my feet, it started to take shape a little bit, really. And I started to really enjoy it. And every week when it came around, some of the other guys were really nervous going into every show. And I was just like, well, come on, let's just enjoy it. And that's the way that I went with it. And I loved it. I loved it for that reason, that I could just enjoy it and just have a bit of fun. But also, I was enjoying it with someone who was extra special to me. So that was the thing. It's all been just such a quick 6 or 7 months, as I say, 8 months, whatever it is. But it's just been, I mean, how life-changing it's all been and how good it's all been. That's what I look back on now and just think it's the most incredible experience of my life, really.
Yeah, I can see her beaming there, which is great, Kev. But tell the truth, when you're practicing, are you pulling her for a little snog around the back, or what's going on? Like
that happened a few times. Yeah, that did happen a few times. And I was like, when we're around everybody else, we do our own training most of the week. So Monday to say Friday, Monday to Thursday, we would have been full on all week, doing our own thing, really. We would have had a professional with us at times. We did a lot in Dublin, actually, as well, when I was over in Dublin. So Brianne came over to Dublin, and we did loads down in Dundrum. So to be fair, Dundrum looked after us. They give us the use of the ice rink. So we did a lot of our training there as well. And then when we were back in the UK, usually on weekends, we were together as a group. Everybody, like all the pros and celebrities, were all together in that. So I was trying to keep me distance. I was trying to I've got to give her a bit of respect. This is a job and all that sort of thing. And at times then you kind of give her the eye, and then she'd be looking at me, giving this is my job. What are you on about? Things like this. No, but no, it was funny. It was how everything turned out for us. How everything turned out. It was funny. It was amazing, but so funny. As you say there, yeah, of course. When we're on the ice at times, when we started to get a bit of a better feeling, for everything, and everyone started then to realise that we were together, then it did become a little bit easier. It become a lot easier for us, and it was great from then on. Really, it was great.
So you've turned into a big soppy softy, which I always knew you were anyway, right? And the big proposal, and you're singing on your hands and knees and everything, right? I couldn't believe. I was like, oh my God, but
I know. Bree put that online. Literally, we woke up in the morning, and one of Bree's fellow pros, one of the girls, Vanessa Bauer, she was actually in the restaurant. I think you said this, but we didn't know she was going to be there. I didn't know she was going to be there. So I shit myself when I seen her, because I knew what I was going to be doing. And obviously then Vanessa had turned up. So She was actually out. She was on a date. She was just on a total random. We were just in the same restaurant, which was bloody. We could have chose any restaurant in London, and we were in the same restaurant. So Vanessa filmed it. So she filmed everything, and obviously then she sent it through to Brianne. So when Brianne got it the following morning, she posted it, and that was it. Then I was like, oh god, I mean, there's no secrets, is there? There's no secrets at all now. But Brie put it straight out, and. Yeah, and as I said, yeah, what more can I say? I don't know.
Okay, well, it has been a life-changing few months, and I'm looking forward to meeting Brianne as well. We're all delighted for you, Kev. But let's get back to your real job when you actually were a footballer. So,
yeah,
I suppose what we've been doing with these, Kev, we've been going back through the clubs the lads have played for, a few stories, bit of crack. So take us back to, obviously, you grew up in Preston, so it must have been an absolute dream for you to go on and play for your boyhood club. But just how hard was it breaking through when you think of academies nowadays compared to maybe what it was like back then?
Yeah, maybe my first point, my boyhood club, yeah, it was. But I honestly, that wasn't my dream. It wasn't my dream to play for Preston. That was the thing. I'd look out for Preston's results. Family and through all my family, that my Irish heritage. I was a Celtic fan growing up. I was just a huge Celtic fan. That was my dream club. That was the team that I would have. If you'd have said to me at 7, 8 years old, who do you want to play for when you get older? I said immediately, straight away, it would have been Celtic. That was my team. And then obviously when 10 and 11, once the Euros came around, the only thing I wanted to do from when I was 10 or 11 was just to play for Ireland. So I never really had a club, and that's the truth. I'd say Celtic, yes, but I never really had a club. And luckily enough, I got in Preston's academy system as it was then when I was 10. I was 10. It's not the same sort of structure as it was now, because you probably know yourself, Al. In those days, you couldn't have signed for a club until you were 14. But I was within the School of Excellence system, so I was just kind of progressing through the system. I was playing under 12 football when I was 10. I was always playing 3 and 4 years above my age group from when I was like 7 years of age. So I was lucky in that respect that I was always playing above my age group against better players. So they were stronger, they were more physical than me, and things like this. So I was always on catch-up in many respects. So I think that certainly helped me play with my brother as well. My brother was a brilliant footballer in his own right. He had a really good non-league career over in England himself. So playing with better players all the time constantly was certainly helping me progress as a player. So when I then went into Preston's School of Excellence system, I was playing under 12 football, as I say, at 10. Then I think I was playing under 13s at 11. And then when I hit 12, I would then drop back to under 13 football to join my own age group. So I was quite lucky in that respect, really. As I then progressed through, I'd had that grounding from a young age of playing above my age group. And it is difficult, but I think I was lucky that at that time, Preston were a League 2 club as it is now, Division 4 club at the time. There was no real there was no real academy system in place, as I was just saying before. So it was once you're within the School of Excellence system, there you're automatically progressing through. I mean, of course, every year was you get to the end of the season and are they going to keep you on for the next year? I think that's the thing when you look at kids now, and you've got a young lad that loves to play now. You're constantly on trial when you don't even realise it.
Yeah.
You don't want any kids to feel pressure, but that's the way that it is, isn't it? You know yourself when you would have gone over to England yourself. You're constantly under pressure without necessarily feeling that pressure from such a young age, because the manager's judging you every single training session, the coaches, and obviously when you're being watched for the games that you're playing in, you're constantly being judged on whether they're going to take you on for the next year. So when I hit 14, then there was actually it was a 50-50 call whether they were going to take me at 14, whether they were going to sign me. But the lad who would work with me from when I was about 7 or 8, I think it was, said, "Look, no, you've got to take a chance on this lad. I think he was, I think he's the one that could go on." And luckily enough, I managed then to progress. And I think I'm still Preston's only £1 million academy player.
Yeah.
I think that still stands today. So little things like that you can be proud of when you look back. And even in today's climate, with the amount of money that's in the game, there's no other player that's gone through Preston's academy that has been sold for £1 million. So that was certainly nice to have, and certainly become the first £1 million player to go and play for West Brom and all these sort of things. But it was difficult in itself, yes, when you started, but I didn't really necessarily see it like that, because I think physically as I got to 15, 16, I got a bit of pace, and I had certain
We always, even young Kev, we always big and strong like that kind of.
Yeah, I mean, Al, my game changed dramatically when I certainly went up to Premier League level. That was the thing. But when I was younger, basically my job on a pitch was just like literally go out and play, go and beat players. You're quick enough, go by players. But once you step up through the leagues, and I see, you still. Once you get to a certain level, everyone's pretty much the same speed, everyone's got the same sort of attributes. So I had to modify my game, certainly when I got to Premier League level. And luckily enough, I managed to hang on in there for a few years, and that was the thing. But I think certainly my game developed or changed dramatically once I did get to Premier League level. Because when I was a young lad, I mean, I was very, very lucky when I first came into the game at 14 and 15. Sam Allardyce was my coach. He signed me at 16, so it was great that I had a coach like him that could help me develop. And certainly when I became a pro, then when I was 16, I had David Moyes, who was first team captain at the club as well, who was another who was huge for me through me developmental years. And these were the sort of guys who I listened to and I learned from. And it was a good club. It was an incredible club for me to be part of, I think, at that time, because the club was at the start of maybe the I don't want to say journey, but it was at the start of the curve where they are now. They've been in the doldrums for such a long time, since the 60s. And then all of a sudden the club started to progress through the leagues, and they've been on the verge of the Premier League a couple of times. But it was an incredible club to play for, as you say, my hometown club, and be part of something very special. We won the third division championship in my first season, and the club have never been back to that level since. So that was great that we got out of the bottom tier that Preston had spent so many years fighting against relegation out of the Football League. And considering the size of club that it actually was in historically, to get to where they are now, I think it was nice to be able to start to get the club to progressing in that way. So it was great, yeah.
Just on that as well, Kev, because you mentioned David Moyes there. I want to kind of ask you more about him when you're reunited back at Everton. But as you became the first £1 million player, then West Brom put in you went there for the move. Just how well prepared were you then when you said there your game changed when you went up to Premier League level, when you went to Sunderland after playing in, say, the second division, first division? Just how well prepped were you? Was that a good grounding for you to play in those lower divisions?
Yeah, absolutely. The perfect grounding for me. Physically, it was so different from the Premier League. The Premier League was probably slightly different anyway. I think it's a lot more physical than we see now. But playing against men, and I said, like, I did have a bit of pace. I was physically able for it. But when you're playing against lads that have played 400 and 500 league games, and you're coming up against them, and they've got ways to get you off the ball, it's totally different from playing youth football and reserve team football. You're starting to play reserve team football. You're starting to get a good few games against pros, but yourself, when you play against professionals at reserve team level, they're not at it. They're not fully at it when they're playing. They're using it to get fit, or basically they're pissed off with the manager and they don't actually want to be there. So you're not necessarily getting a true gauge of the player unless the player has that right attitude where he's bang on it. So you're trying to obviously progress, and you're trying your nuts off. You're doing your best to try to impress people, to try to get onto the next level, or the next step up that ladder, to try to get to first team level. And I always found it where once I then broke into the first team at Preston. As I was saying, we're playing at the bottom tier, playing against seasoned pros. It was incredibly tough, really, really tough. But then once we got promoted, then I got, luckily enough, I stepped through every single league before I went to the Premier League. So to play in every league, I think certainly helped me when I got up to Premier League level. But the Premier League was a cut above. It was like chalk and cheese, because, as I said, when I got to Premier League level, my game had to change. My instructions on the pitch when I was at West Brom was, look, just go and score, go and create, go and score, basically go and do what you want. And that's the truth. I could play right and left wing. I could go and play off the striker. I could go and do what I wanted. When you went and played at Premier League level, you don't have that luxury, because if you have anyone that's loose on a pitch, you get done 3 and 4-0. And that's why I think my game modified. And I had to learn quickly. If I'm going to survive at Premier League level, I've got to change my game quickly. And it took me probably 2 years at Sunderland to really settle. And there was a number of issues behind that, settling up there, once in the area. I found the size on the club compared to where I've been at was just phenomenal. Everybody wanted a piece of you wherever you went, whatever you were doing. So that was I always found that so strange. It was so alien to me. Every single person, it seemed, whenever you went to supermarkets, whenever you went out, wherever you went, everyone just wanted a piece. You wanted to chat to you. And I wanted that little bit of privacy. I wanted that privacy to do what I wanted to do my own thing. And I found it incredibly difficult or incredibly different once I'd gone to Sunderland. And as I said, I think my game suffered because of that when I initially went up there as well.
It's only now when people, obviously, because of the documentary, and people get a feel for what Sunderland's like, and everybody is tuned in and see that. But the scrutiny in the Northeast on football, Kev, because to just live and breathe football, that's it. So that was a major culture shock, was it, for you? And Peter Reid was your manager, but you had Quinn around and all. You were saying to me before now, Quinn was really helpful in the early days with you. Yeah,
I mean, you know what? I could have actually gone to Leeds. I could have gone to Liverpool. There was a good few options for me, but Peter Reid and Niall as well. Niall was injured actually around the Irish side at that time, but Niall called me up and Niall said, "Look, Kev, you're going to love it up here. It's an incredible club, such a huge club. You won't believe how big it is." And he was spot on in everything that he'd said to me. And once Peter Reid had rang me, Peter Reid called me and said, "Look, you're going to go straight in the team. You're going to play every week." And the message that I was getting from Leeds, David O'Leary was the manager at the time, and Gerard Houllier was at Liverpool, was, "Look, you're going to come in and you might have to bide your time. You might have to sit and play in the reserves, particularly at Liverpool, sit in the reserves for a couple of seasons, and, you know, we'll help you develop," which might have been the best option for me. I don't know, rightly or wrongly, but I wanted to play. I was, you know...
You felt you were ready.
Sorry?
You felt you were ready.
I did feel I was ready because, as I said, I played over 100... I think I played about 150 league games at that time, or certainly 150 senior games. I was playing international football at that time. And I just felt, yeah, look, I want to play more and more. Sunderland at the time was second in the Premier League. You know, you forget that as well. Sunderland were doing, well, it was doing great things. The club, Peter Reid and the coaching staff that he got around him, the club was building. It just moved into the Stadium of Light. Everything was going great. And they were the things that came to me. It was like, look, I'm going to go to a huge club. I'm going to go and play in front of 40-odd thousand passionate fans every single week, and I want to be part of it. And luckily enough, I think it was, you know, although I don't feel as though I certainly did myself justice there. I didn't play well over the time. My best season was the year we got relegated, and, you know, you get no credit for that anyway, really. But I think overall, there might have, you know, even looking back in your career, you think I could have maybe chose different things, but I just wanted to play football. I was ready for Premier League football in my own mind, and I just wanted to go and play games. And Peter Reid gave me more assurances that I'd be playing week in, week out in the first team, and that's what I wanted to hear at that time.
What kind of a character was Peter Reid, Kev?
Great man, honestly, God, great man. He was brilliant to me as well. And, you know, I said, there's so many people that so many characters and so many managers and coaches that I've come across the course of my career, and players as well. But Peter Reid was a one-off. He wasn't a training ground manager. He wasn't a coach on the training ground. He would always be on the training ground, but he wasn't the sort of he was a manager. He was a manager, and you know yourself, Al. There's managers and there's coaches. He was, and there's obviously some that do both. But he was the manager that used to come out. He'd come alive on a match day. Peter Reid had great ways of motivating you. 15, 20 minutes before a kickoff or whatever it was. Certainly the match day was when Peter Reid come alive. He had great ways about him. And I always felt as though I didn't do him. I always felt as though maybe the way that I played, because there was, obviously a big outlay for me when I went up to Sunderland as well. I always felt as though I'd let him down when I didn't play well. I felt as though that I'd let his coaching staff, Bobby Saxton and Adrian Heath, who was around the coaching staff at that time. When I played poorly, when I first got to Sunderland, I felt as I was letting those down more than, or those three down more than anybody, because the encouragement that they give me, the belief that they had in me, and it just didn't quite work out, and that was the thing. So he was a brilliant man manager, probably the best man manager that I would have had in my career, Peter Reid. Just in terms of how he used to get players motivated and how he used to get. There could have been a lot of other things, or there should have been maybe other things that could have been done differently, should have been done differently on the training ground at Sunderland. But as a man manager, Peter Reid was certainly right up there with the very best. Yeah.
Your good friend Crabbers is glad you chose Sunderland anyway, Kev. I see him messaging there.
Yeah, well, he's a Preston lad himself. I see him on there now. He'd be delighted you give him a mention there. He will be. Yeah, he's.
Well, I know he's a good
he's
friend
big
of yours,
Preston
so
fan.
we have to give him a mention.
Yeah, I mean, we only really became firm friends when he was at Sunderland. He used to work up on the local radio station up there in Sunderland. So yeah, he'll be delighted. He'll probably message you there now. Delighted you've given a mention there. It's good for his profile. Just tell him that he's trying to raise his profile a bit, Al. You know.
Well, tell him, right, if is he trying... Well, if you do well in this chat, so far it's going well, Kev. Who knows, you might get a suit from EJ's or from Herbie Frog. We might get one from
yeah.
as well.
He's my best man, so...
Yeah, we'll have to dress him.
Yeah, he needs a suit, honest to God.
The boys will have to sort them out, so don't worry, Crammers.
Yeah.
We look after you over here in the west of Ireland, Crammers. He's not happy. So, but just on that, Kev, because you're saying there it probably didn't pan out the way maybe you wanted to. There was an incident, I think, where you were on, was it away in France, and you gave the fans the two fingers. Is that something you look back on now, or are you bothered?
Oh, no. Do you know what, Al? Right, it was a pre-season game. We were playing pre-season in France. Yeah, France or Belgium. I think you're right. I think it was France.
I do. I'm good at my research, haven't I?
Yeah, you've got to tell you. You've done a bit of research here. Well done. You've read a few books or you've Googled my name or something, haven't you? No, do you know what? I was just getting abused from the fans. And honest to God, I literally turned around and gave them the V's. And it was like the biggest uproar ever. These fans were calling me all sorts and I just literally, it was an instant reaction. And I look back, it's probably funny now. I was gutted when I came off because I thought that was the end of my Sunderland career as well. And there was actually talks behind the scenes. Peter Reid at the time was whether I was going to move or not, whether I was going to get. I wanted out. I was desperate to get out. That summer, I wanted gone. And it was just after the World Cup as well. And I felt as though the World Cup had gone well, although it didn't end particularly well. But I felt as though the World Cup had gone well. The campaign leading up to the World Cup had gone well. And it just didn't happen. Honestly, and you know yourself, I think once we're the same ourselves. When you're watching football, you have an opinion of a player, no matter how well he plays. You're always in the back of your mind thinking, "Nah, I don't like that lad. I don't like him." And I think that's the way it was. It was just a relationship with the Sunderland supporters where they just didn't take to me. And there was a number of reasons for that. And I think the main reason was that I just didn't play well. And I think I was young. I wasn't ready probably for the size of the place that it was. I wasn't ready for the scrutiny that was on me when I went up there. And that was pretty much it. And as I said, it didn't go well. Giving them the V's probably helped me because I had my best season off the back of that. I stayed another season after it and I had my best season, but we got relegated. So as I said before, you don't necessarily get any credit when you have relegation. So that was it. And looking back now, I probably don't regret it because I just felt as though it had reached such a stage and there was nowhere else I felt as though I could go. So it just happened like that. Honestly, it was instinctive. And that's probably the way that I always was as well, yeah.
Yeah, well, it could be a blessing in disguise, Kev. Because anyway, that was coming to an end. So then you're reunited with Moyes back at Everton.
Yeah.
So how big was that? Because obviously Everton, such a massive club. And I'm sure, as you said, David Moyes was such an influence on you in the early days. And then he's turning things around at Everton. He's doing really well. So I'm sure that was a massive signing for you.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, I was in a difficult position as well because, as I said before, we got relegated from the Premier League. And we shouldn't have got relegated with the sides that we have. We had Kevin Phillips, Gavin McCann was playing for us at that time as well, Claudio Reyna. Sorry?
How good was Phillips?
Brilliant, Al. Honest to God, what a finisher. Incredible finisher. The link-up play with Niall was that understanding that everyone would, you'd hear people talking about an understanding. It was instinctive, the way that they played. Kevin, Niall was a huge part in Kevin's development and the goals that he scored, yes. But Kevin was a super striker, incredible striker, amazing finisher. Day in, day out, every single day in training, the precision on his finishing every single time with power in the corner of the net. He was certainly very unique, certainly one of the best. I certainly wouldn't put him up there with Robbie Keane and Wayne Rooney, but he was certainly as close as you're going to get to those two players in terms of strikers, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I always was a fan of Phillips, and I was surprised that none of the top clubs ever come in for him.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he is the last English player to score 30 goals in a Premier League season. Oh no, that might have actually been before Wayne Rooney. I think Wayne Rooney. But there's only been a handful of English strikers that have scored 30 Premier League goals, and Kevin was one of those. That was my first season at Sunderland, so he was a phenomenon. the way he used to finish, he used to always end up in the inside left channel, the corner of the penalty area. You would have seen a lot of his goals from that position, and he used to make his runs into that channel. And that was obviously the channel that I would have been in. You could have always just played balls down the outside, in behind a fullback or a centre half, the right-sided centre half, and Kevin would always get onto it, check onto his right foot, and bang! His goal scoring from that position was phenomenal, really. And that was where he used to do it in training as well. It was repetition. His application was superb as well, Kevin. But that was why he got the benefits on the pitch, because of his application.
Okay, so you moved to Everton then. Sorry, Kev, I cut across you there. Yeah. How big was that for you? And obviously heading back to be reunited with Moyes.
Yeah, I was just saying before, we shouldn't have got relegated, but we did, and that's what happens. And looking back, it was a big move. I was going. Mick McCarthy had just taken over at Sunderland, so Mick had taken over at the back end of the season. We were on that horrendous run, and the following season actually started. So we were back in the Championship, and it was the first ever transfer window. So the transfer window had just started. So obviously we weren't really knowing what to expect at that time when they introduced a transfer window. And I had started the season for Sunderland. So the season started, we were playing Championship football, and we were on this dreadful run. We were on a club record. I think it was actually a league record, or we were on course for a league record, should I say, of the amount of games lost on the bounce. And we actually went to Preston. If we'd have lost at Preston, we would have equalled the league record for league defeats consecutively. And we beat Preston. We beat them at Deepdale, and things started to take off for the club. I think we went the week after to Bradford or wherever it was, and it was a bank holiday weekend, so the transfer window got pushed back a day from the Monday to the Tuesday at the end of August. So we beat Bradford. I felt as though I was playing well, everything was going really well, and I was going to go to Southampton. Southampton had made a bid. Gordon Strachan was manager at Southampton, and I felt as though that was it. Southampton were a Premier League club at the time, and that was it. I was going down to the South Coast. Perfect. That's where I'm going to be. That's where I'm going to set myself. And after the bid, Mick called me up to his room. We were away in pre-season up in Scotland. I think we were playing Hearts, actually. And he said, look, we've had a bid from Southampton. We've accepted it. So what do you think? And I said, Mick, it's right. I want to stay in the Premier League. I feel as though that that's where I feel as though my level is, and that's where I want to stay. I said, look, I'd love to carry on here with what you've started. I want to carry on, and I think we've got a chance of getting promoted this season. But I want to go. So Mick understood. Mick didn't want me to go, but he understood my reasonings. And then all of a sudden it just fell through. Nothing happened. It went quiet. Yourself when you hear these bids go in for players, and it just never happened. And Moisey was in the whole summer. They wanted to do a loan move initially. Then they wanted to try and do a player. A cash plus player deal, and Sunderland weren't buying at it, weren't biting at it. So then it came to the deadline day, and Everton just got beat in the Merseyside derby against Liverpool. Remember the famous Gerrard goal from the corner of the 18-yard box? Banged it back across, and they'd been beaten badly at Goodison. So there's a load of changes that need to be made. Moisey was under pressure, and he had to get players in. And it came to deadline day, and luckily enough, they agreed a fee then with Sunderland. It was, as I said, it was deadline day, but because it was deadline day, it had gone over onto that Tuesday. I had to sign for Everton while I was in Sunderland's training ground. I couldn't get down to a medical. So luckily enough, Mick Rathbone, who was a physio at the time, had known me from my Preston days. They had the injury records and things like that, medical records, so they knew exactly what the story was. So I signed for Sunderland without having a medical, which is unheard of now. I had to sign, had to get the deal done. So the deal was done. I travelled down to Everton that night. I had a kind of a medical that evening, and it was done and dusted. So I signed the same day as James McFadden, Nigel Martin. You probably know Nigel from...
Yeah.
Nigel was a phenomenal goalkeeper, an incredible goalkeeper. So we signed Nigel, myself, James McFadden, and Franny Jeffers went back on loan from Everton that day. So they did 4 deals, and I was lucky to be part of that. And I loved every minute of it then at Everton. I think Moisey certainly give me a new lease of life. The club gave me a new lease of life, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Certainly that first season, it was a tough first season as well, and David Moyes was under severe pressure. But I felt as though that it went very well, and I loved every minute being at such a big club, because Everton, I do feel, certainly globally, it's the biggest club I would have played at. It was just an incredible club, and we had such strong characters, leaders at the club: Alan Stubbs, Duncan Ferguson, David Wheely, Carsley, Steve Watson, Kevin Campbell. True men, real men, brilliant players, but also real leaders as well. And we had a great dressing room there at Everton.
Yeah, some names you listed out there, Kev. I want to ask you, because there's people texting in, everyone wants to know about Duncan Ferguson, not only on the pitch, but what he was like off the pitch as well. I wouldn't mess with him, I tell you that much, but he must have been some character to, I suppose, firstly to play with, but then to be pals with also.
Yeah, honestly, Al, it surprised me how good he was. And you know, you hear that as well. You hear that when you see.
You wouldn't see him dancing on ice.
No. I tell you, can you imagine Big Dunk, 6'5" on ice? You know what? He had an amazing application to train as well. As I said, honestly, Al, he was a brilliant player. I couldn't believe how good his touch was. I thought, you know, I wouldn't want to say a cart horse. I think you know yourself when you do undersell lads. You realise how good they actually are when you're around this calibre of player. And I think when you step up and say to Premier League level, everybody is at such a level where you realise, look, he's just they're all brilliant. Everyone is just such good and such talented players, and that's the way that it is. But Duncan, especially, everything that he did, first touch, his ability to bring players into the game, his injury record, of course, went against him. Where we couldn't get 35, 40 games out of him a season, so we had to use him off the bench a lot. We had to, I mean, incredibly fit lad as well. And considering the injury problems that he had, he was an unbelievably fit lad. He just had these. He had one of those bodies that's just susceptible to getting these injuries. But brilliant application. Again, another one. You mentioned Kevin Phillips there as well. Duncan would be another one. I'd put him up there in terms of how he used to finish, the left foot that he had, in the ability to hit corners of the net constantly. You know, if you put 20 balls out for him, he'd hit the corner of the net 15, 18 times. You know, a high percentage of balls were always in the corner, always giving keepers trouble. If the keeper made a save, it would have had to be a worldie for a keeper to make when you're doing shooting drills. That was the level that he was at, and that was a level that a lot of players. I mean, I mentioned probably one of the best players I would have played with throughout my career would have been Thomas Gravesen. The talent that he had was phenomenal. Him when I signed, he was another one. I thought he was a bit of a hard man, which he actually wasn't. But talent-wise, Alan, what a player! What an unbelievably talented player Tommy Gravesen was.
Well, a lad actually texted me today who's a big Everton fan, and when you were doing this, and he wanted me to ask you about Gravesen and just how crazy he was, but. You mentioned the talent there with him because he went down to sign for it, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a season where we finished fourth. Actually, we missed him after Christmas. Tommy had a free role for us. Everyone thinks he was a hard man in midfield that used to go around, enforcing the game. He couldn't do that. That wasn't his game. We had to play him free because he lacked discipline. Tommy on a pitch. So luckily enough, in that midfield we had Lee Carsley, who Lee just used to sit. He knew his role. And that's where people used to get them mixed up with the same bald head. So the people would think it was Tommy that would be putting the tackles in. It was always Lee, but he'd be freeing Tommy up, and Tommy just used to go off. And honestly, he was magical player. Tommy was, and that was why he got his move to Real Madrid, because of the talent that he had. And he was another that seriously surprised me how good he was. Just everything. You couldn't get the ball off him in training. Incredibly gifted footballer, ability to pick a pass out, ability to create, open up defences. So there was times where the game that I used to play, I was playing the left of midfield. I just set off and run, and Tommy would pick you out with some of the most incredible passes, the great vision that he had. But again, he doesn't get that sort of recognition for the player that he actually played a majority of his career playing as a holding midfielder. And I used to watch him in training and think, how on earth did you play for Denmark in World Cups and play for Real Madrid as a holding midfielder? Because he never seemed to me, or he never came across to me like he had the discipline to just firmly sit in the base of midfield and do a job, because he had others around him within that Everton side that could do that for him.
You also would have come across a young Wayne Rooney, Kev, I think.
Yeah. Wayne was 17, yeah.
A young Wayne Rooney. So, and would you have known straight away? But was the talent driven at that young age? I know he scored on his debut when he was only 16, I think. Was he marked for stardom from day one? Yeah, that was just before I signed for Everton when he'd scored that goal. I've got you. It was the back end of the season before. So yeah, he was 16. So I signed, I think he was 17 when I signed. And
I'd known about him. Everybody knew about him. I don't know. Were you over in England at that time? Everybody in English football knew about Wayne Rooney from when he was about 12 or 13. Everybody knew about him. I was playing for Sunderland at the time, and I knew about him because of the talent that he has. Yeah. The talent that he had when he was at that particular age. He was a man. He was the strongest boy I have ever seen. Incredibly strong, but also had just an amazing application. Yes, as I've spoke about with all the best players that have got the application, but the talent, just incredibly talented, so strong. Wayne would regularly lose his head in training. He would do the most horrendous tackles in training. We used to call it, when I was growing up, when we used to come through the system at Preston, we'd play against sides from Tranmere, Liverpool, Everton, these sides, and they used to have the Scouse tackle where they'd let the ball come onto them, they'd win the ball, and then they'd just go and do you. They'd go and they leg breakers, essentially. Wayne would do that regularly enough in training. Every single day, or most days, Wayne would lose his head over something. Maybe it was us who just were substandard, and he was losing his head at how crap we all were, that he wanted actually just to prove how good he was. But no, he was a tough boy, an incredibly tough boy, honestly. And as I said, the strength on him, oh my God, I've never seen anyone, certainly at that age, at 16, 17, the strength that he had was incredible. Playing up against the likes of Stubbsy in training or Davy Weir in training, he was just too good. He was too good for everybody. And at the back end of that season, when he went to the Euros and he did so well, and then he moved to Man United, we wished him well, because we knew full well that Everton were never going to keep hold of him at that time. He was always going to go on because of the amount of bids that were coming in for him. I think Newcastle were the first to bid. I think Arsenal were in for him, who were the biggest or amongst the biggest at that time, and United then eventually got him, and it was a huge move for him because of the talent that he had. But what a player, Al! I mean, you look back at lads through your career, and you look at the talent that I would have played alongside. Wayne was certainly right up there. Yeah, of course he was.